Hi Java students, this is Dennis. Just thought I'd create a quick little video just to make sure we're all on the same track. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go into Eclipse and talk about some parts of the code and write some code. So, all right, so I'm going to go into Windows. I'm going to I'm going to go into my apps. Here's Eclipse. I'm going to pin this to my taskbar so it's down here and easy to access from now on. When I want to open Eclipse, I click on it. I'm using Eclipse 2023-6. Okay, right here, this workspace area, this is where Java is going to save all of your work. I changed this. I browsed and I selected my Google Drive, my drive, and I created a folder called Workspace. So in this location, all of my work will appear. Why I like it like this is if I'm at the school or if I'm anywhere, I don't have to haul things around. I can just log into my Google Drive and everything's there. All right, so I'm going to launch. And as you can see, I'm inside of Eclipse. First thing I'm going to do is get rid of this page. And this kind of comes up all the time. I want to just X out of that. And I want to create a brand new Java project. So here I am creating a Java project. I'm going to name it My First Project. My first project. This is going to be saved inside of that workspace that I talked about. I'm going to say next. I could have just said finish. And here I go. So over here in the Package Explorer, you can see the SRC folder is where my source code is going to go. So I'm going to come into the SRC folder. I'm going to right click and say New Class. As you recall from day one, a class is a container for a program. I'm not sure we actually said that when we did the slides, but a class is a container for a program. Every program will have a class holding the code or multiple classes. So for now, I'm going to just call this my first class. And my first class is going to always start with a capital letter. And this is in camel case, except for the first letter being caps, because every class begins with a capital letter. Every class begins with a capital letter. So the next thing I'm going to do is click Finish. Before I click Finish, I'm going to show you the quick shortcut. I never remember the syntax for public, static, void, main, string, square bracket, args in a left paren, closing parenthesis. You don't need to memorize it, and you won't memorize it if you click this box every time, because what's going to happen is that line of code is going to be automatically published for me. Well, this is a Java dot comment, and I don't really care about it. The next thing I'm going to do, let me make this a little bigger, is I'm going to come in here and put my comment header in. So I'm not going to have you watch that. I'll just pause this while I write. So here's my comment header. It's always going to have a minimum of 3 parts. Written by my name, when I wrote it, August 24, 2023, and a short purpose statement, a short program to demo some Java features. We don't need the marquee around it, but I always kind of like to do such a thing. That's just kind of my style. The other thing I recommend for now is at the end of end of each of your closing mustaches, type what it ends. Like this. So for just a quick demonstration purposes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to prompt the user to enter just integers, and then I'm going to have the user maybe type a -999 to stop entering integers. Once the user stops, I'm going to display the sum of, I could display the sum. I'm going to display the average of the integers that the user entered. Pretty simple. You should have done this in COP 1000 and other languages and so on. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a few variables. So I'm going to create a variable to hold the sum or the total. So I'm going to say int total. And I'm going to default that to 0. And I'm also going to keep track of how many numbers that the user enters. So I'm going to have a total variable and a count variable. And I think I just need one more integer type variable. And I'll just call it a value. That value is going to be whatever the integer or the user enters. I'll do this all in main for now. I would recommend methods later. But for now, I'll create a double. And I'm going to call it average. And that's going to be used once I compute the average. Notice I like to put a 0.0. That's just kind of like my way of documenting that this is definitely not an int. It's either a float or a double. 0.0 is the same thing as 0, but to me it's just more descriptive to do that next to a double. So there's the variables I'm going to need. Now I'm going to need a loop, and I'm going to use a do-while loop because I use a do-while loop anytime I want to enter the body of the loop at least one time. So I'm going to keep looping until the user enters a minus 999. So in other words, I'm going to loop while the user doesn't enter minus 999. So this would be a loop that's going to continue until this variable value equals minus 999. As long as it doesn't, I'll loop forever. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do an system.out.print, not a print line, but a print, because I want to keep the print head on the same line. So watch this shortcut. Ready? SYSO, and now I stop typing, hands are off the keyboard. I'm going to hold down Control and tap the space bar, and it types all of this for me. System.out.println. As I said, I don't want print line, I want print ln, I want print. And here's going to be my prompt. There's my prompt. Let me move this over and over so this gets a little bigger. So there's my prompt. Just for the heck of it, I'm going to run this. And I should be in an infinite loop. I like to check this box so I don't have to keep checking this every single time I run it. Always save. And as you can see down here, I am in an infinite loop. It's just extending this string way out beyond the right of the screen. So I'm going to stop that and move over. Just out of curiosity, before I move forward, I want to talk about this word, system, or what is happening here. This word system is a class. How do I know? Because it starts with a capital letter. This word out is an object that belongs to the class system. This belongs to this. And this is a method that is a part of this object that belongs to this class. So method, object, class. This is an argument for this method. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to populate this value. Okay, in Java, enable to get input from the user, I'm going to need something called a scanner object. So this input is going to eventually become a scanner object. Let me show you how you would do such a thing. Well, the first thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to go right up on line 8 and I'm going to say import java.util.star. What that's going to do, that's going to bring everything inside of this Java utility library. And in there, I happen to know that that's where scanner resides. So now I need to create a new scanner object. That's what the input's going to be. And I'm going to do that right here inside of this class and before main. So I'm going to say scanner, because scanner is a class. I'm going to name it my object. It could be anything. I called it input. I'm going to say gets, and I'm going to say new. New creates a new object. The new object is going to be of type scanner, and Java just requires this syntax. So this line creates me this object input that I'm going to use to get input from the user. Okay, notice when I create this scanner object, down here I have a red squiggly, and basically this method main has no idea what this object is, because this input is created outside of main, it's not in main. If I want to make this object usable for all methods inside of this class, I have to make it of type static. As soon as I do that, watch, my red squiggly goes away, and now this should work. Let's just verify it real quick by running it. And notice I'm able to type some numbers. And as soon as I hit -999, my program stops. So that seems to be working. I have a little bit of work to do in here. I need to say if value not equal -999. I can only type. If it doesn't equal that, here's my comment after my closing mustache. Well, if it doesn't equal that, I have to start to adjust the total. And I have to adjust the counter. So that once I get outside of this loop, I can do the math. I am outside this loop now, so I'm going to say average gets total divided by count. And I'm going to do an SYSO. Boom. And this time I can simply type the output. Sure how to break this up on multiple lines later, but I'm going to just do it right here. The average of the 3 values is, or 5 values is, and I'm going to say average. And I believe that should work. Okay, so this is the end of that line. I'm going to run this, and I'm going to type in the numbers 1, 2, and 3. I believe the average of 1, 2, and 3 would be 2. Let's see if that's true. -999. And the average of the 3 values is 2. By the way, this guy right here, that's concatenation. So I can concatenate to this string this integer value, and then this string to this float or double value. I don't have, notice my Python programmers, I would have had to use the str function to be able to concatenate, but Java doesn't require such a thing. Okay, this video is already 13, almost 14 minutes long, so I'm going to stop. Just wanted to show you a little bit about writing your first program. All right, see you Tuesday morning. And by the way, on Tuesday morning, I won't be in 221. I will be in 226, the room adjacent to 221. That's where my office hours are going to be on Tuesdays. All right, have a good weekend. Bye.